What is up, YouTube? This is Gregory Dearth, and I'm the Atheist Guard. I'm not sure if I like that title or not. It sounds really kind of lame, but I'm a guard, so this seemed like an obvious title to go with. Anyhow, this is another video in my introduction series where I'm going to go covering basic definitions and introducing myself, my positions. In this video, I'm going to be covering what faith is. And what an Apistevist is. Now, you talk to any theist and they're going to give you a variety of definitions of faith. Some are going to give you something very general like it's trust. If it's trust, just use the word trust. But when you're in a debate with a theist, they'll appeal to faith in lieu of evidence in a lot of cases. You know, they'll present their evidence arguments up front, and you'll shoot them down, and you explain why it's not evidence, or why they're committing an argument from incredulity, or an argument from ignorance, or something to that effect, and then they'll be like, well, you just got to have faith. At that point, what they're doing is they're admitting that basically, in addition to this thing that they thought was evidence, they have this other mechanism to justify their belief, which is faith. And that says a lot about what they actually mean by the term when they're not just trying to make it a general equivocation. And that's also why a lot of dictionaries picked up on that usage. Because again, no, dictionaries don't define meaning, they define usage. Words have usage, and they can vary. But in this particular sense, I think the dictionary's got it right. I'll be coining a few different definitions here so you know where I'm coming from with this whole thing, and then I'll make a general definition that I think makes a lot more sense. And believe me, if you go by the Bible's definition, you'll be confused. I'll get to that one too, but I'm going to start off with the ones that are written in plain English instead of this mixed, mashed English that we get from translations of copies of hearsay. You know, that pretty much is what Scripture is, after all. Bartley.com and Dictionary.com both share a common definition in this regard. Confident belief in truth, value, or trustworthiness of a person, idea, or thing that does not rest on logical proof or material evidence. There you go. So confident belief in the truth, value, or trustworthiness of a person, idea, or thing that does not rest on logical proof or material evidence. AskOxford.com. Complete trust or confidence, strong belief in a religion, a system of religious belief. That's pretty general, but complete trust or confidence is kind of the key in that definition, which, you know, they're using faith as the justification for their belief, but that is their confidence in that belief. It's very circular if you use that definition. I don't particularly like the AskOxford.com one because I think it's basically the same confidence. Which is a way people use the word faith. I have faith I'm going to turn on my light switch and my light's going to come on. I have confidence that that's going to happen. So that is one way to use the word faith. But what I'm talking about is the religious context that you see in debates, that you see in, well, specifically in formal debates, when you're having a debate with a theist and they appeal to faith as their justification for believing. From the Merriam-Webster Online Dictionary, a firm belief in something for which there is no proof. That's pretty much how they insert it in their arguments. Well, you just got to have faith. Why? From Encarta, belief in, devotion to, or trust in somebody or something, especially without logical proof. So that actually allows for both usages. You can have the belief in, devotion to, or trust in something or somebody, and call that faith. Just like I have faith when I turn the key, my engine will start. But this especially applies when there is no logical proof, which would be not like me turning on my car engine, because I have logical reasons to expect my car engine to start. I maintain it well. I spent a lot of money maintaining that stupid Jeep. Good Lord, I spent a lot of money on that Jeep. So I have reasons to back it up. I have evidence, a track record of this thing turning on every time I pull the key. I have a new battery underneath the hood. So I have logical reasons for that faith, which to me is just trust. Again, that's one of those equivocations. I just use the word trust. I trust that when I turn the key in my Jeep, it's going to start. One of these days, it might betray my trust. More than likely, it will, because it continuously betrays my trust. Every time I think I got it fixed, something else goes wrong. I usually get about 3 or 4 months before something goes wrong, and I have to dump another $500 into the damn thing. Now, to the scripture that defines faith. And this, of course, would apply only to Christianity's definition of faith, but being that I'm in a Christian society, this is the religion I tend to deal with the most, and my family's pretty much all that, so that's where I'm coming from. Hebrews 11:1. Now, faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. See what I mean by the scriptural definition? It's just like, huh? What? It is the assurance of things hoped for. And actually, some of the translations say the evidence of things hoped for. So faith is the evidence of things hoped for. Now, I would trust you would understand that what you hope for may or may not actually be true. I hope that I'm going to be a billionaire one day. That probably won't happen. If I have assurance that I'm going to be a billionaire one day, why do I have that assurance? Have I purchased lottery tickets every day or something, and that's why I'm thinking that someday I might be a millionaire? That would be a reason to have assurance. Not a very good one, because my odds are still pretty poor. Or maybe I know that I'm going to invent something really good, and I have this thing in the works, this prototype that's going to make me millions of dollars. I'm going to be a millionaire one day. I have an assurance for that thing that I'm hoping for, based on the evidence that I know my prototype is really good, and this is going to revolutionize the world or something. I wish I had such a thing. I don't. But this is saying faith is the assurance of things hoped for. That doesn't tell me anything, really. What does it mean by faith being the assurance? That's a word. So this is the definition they're giving, and they're using the word in the definition. And then it says the conviction of things not seen. Now, you probably remember from my previous video that I defined knowledge as basically your conviction of a belief. The level of confidence you have in a belief as it approaches certainty is when you get to claim that belief is actually knowledge. Belief just means you accept it's true. That's all it means. You accept the assertion is true. I believe it. And then if you have high confidence in it, then you would claim you know it. And hopefully your confidence is based on evidence, track record, statistics, things like that, so that you have a reason to have a high confidence. Faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. So faith is the conviction of things not seen. Faith is the conviction. Again, this is like putting some weird meaning in that word that we're supposed to read into as a justification for having that conviction of the things not seen. And of course, the things not seen thing, I'm pretty sure they're not talking about invisible, literally. I think they're talking about things not seen as in things we can't materially demonstrate, that they don't manifest in any material detectable way. They're probably not thinking that if it's invisible, you have a conviction that it exists because of faith. I don't think that's what they're getting at. It's not that literal. So this conviction of things not seen, God's. So I had to go and look at a couple other scriptures because I'm like, well, they keep using this word faith as the assurance. Faith is the conviction. 2 Corinthians 4:18, we look at things seen. We look not at things seen, but at things not seen. Okay, see again, they're saying look at things not seen. They're not being literal about looking at the invisible, but they look not at things seen, but at things not seen. They're in the context, they're talking about they are relying on things that they can't actually demonstrate, that aren't material. Maybe they don't mean that they can't demonstrate it, but that's what it is. That's what they're talking about, is things that they really can't demonstrate, but that they believe in nonetheless, things that are not seen. Romans 14:22, the faith which you have as your own conviction before God. So again, faith is the conviction here. Happy is he who does not condemn himself in what he approves. So don't be overcritical of your beliefs, basically. Don't condemn yourself on what you approve. Why did you approve it in the first place? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm condemning myself for what I approve. So this is basically saying don't double think yourself. Don't be rational. Don't be a skeptic. But he who doubts is condemned if he eats, because his eating is not from faith. And whatever is not from faith is sin. Okay. Of course, they're using the word eats, E-A-T-S, again in a metaphor. So this is what you consume, whatever you're consumed with, whatever you're trying to obtain, whatever feeds you in a like a metaphysical sense, whatever gives you that meaning, that replenishes your belief. He who doubts is condemned, because he's not doing it based on faith. He's not just accepting the assertion of what he hopes for. He's not having a conviction in things not seen in lieu of evidence. He's looking at things that are seen instead of things that are not seen, as in the Romans. The Corinthians quote. They want you to do it the other way around. They want you to believe in things that are not seen, not demonstrable, not tangible. And don't condemn yourself in what you approve, because you definitely don't want to be rationally skeptical about anything that you think you believe is true. Just believe it. Just believe it. That's how you hear faith used with theists. Just believe it. That's basically what it means. And actually, you'll hear pastors say, believe it. Tell yourself that it's true until you believe that it's true. Fake it till you make it, kind of thing. These are common themes that you hear in Christianity, especially the Protestant type of Christianity, where they really, really want you to not think skeptically about your beliefs, because that's a bad thing. You're condemning yourself on what you approve. But yeah, that's basically the definitions I'm talking about here when they're talking about faith. It's actually a mechanism used to justify an irrational belief. Instead of having evidence, instead of presenting logical arguments that actually are backed by evidence to support the premises to reach a conclusion, they're having a conclusion first, and then basing their conviction, what they hope is true, on this faith thing, which their book tells them to use to believe the rest of the book. It's entirely circular. We don't use that mechanism anywhere else in our lives. Not the way it's described in the scripture or in a lot of those dictionary definitions. We typically try to believe things that we can actually demonstrate to someone else that actually is real. But and that's just where it comes down to this position of Apistevist. Apistevist is a person who does not use faith, who rejects faith outright. I try not to. I don't think I have any beliefs that I can't back up. I actually try not to have beliefs where I just merely accept something as true. I try to make sure that anything I believe also qualifies as knowledge, that I have a high degree of certainty regarding what I accept as true. And I definitely don't want to rely on a mechanism like faith, because faith is religion independent. You can have faith to believe in the Muslim God, the Christian God, who are obviously arguably the same God, but they have different positions on things. You could have faith in Hinduism, Greek mythology. You could say you believe in those gods based on faith. And they all can't be true at the same time. Some of them are mutually exclusive, saying the other ones are deceived. So a faith can lead you to contradictory positions, where a true and a false position, potentially true, and a false position can both be arrived at using this mechanism. It is not a reliable mechanism. It's like tossing a coin and saying, well, if it's heads, it's true. If it's tails, it's false. That's not a reliable mechanism. But actually, it has better odds than using faith to back up a religious belief, because there's thousands and thousands of religious beliefs, and you really only have a 50-50 shot on a, perfect coin of getting the right answer. You have a 1 in several thousand shot of getting the right answer if you use faith to believe in a religion. And that's presuming that one of those religions has the right answer to begin with, something none of them can demonstrate. And that's why I've heard a lot of atheists say that, every theist who believes wholeheartedly in their particular God is pretty close to being an atheist, because they reject all of the other religions except for the one they believe in. An atheist is simply someone who believes in one less God than them. And for good reason, because there is no particular one that can be backed up with evidence. And using faith to back up any belief system on any principle, especially as it's defined in this context, it just isn't rational. It's dishonest. And it's wholly unreliable. I mean, it's September 11th today. That's obviously got some meaning to Americans, to the rest of the world, probably to moderate Muslims too, who saw their religion perverted by sick idiots that were compelled to do an extremely horrific act in the name of their God. And they had faith that their beliefs were true. They did not have evidence. They didn't have any assurance whatsoever beyond that faith mechanism that they were taught to believe also. See, this is Islam, using the exact same mechanism. They had faith that what they were doing was in the name of their God. Now, of course, there might have been some other conspiracy going on behind that, but whoever motivated this whole thing into action, be it Osama bin Laden or whatever, they relied on that religious faith to get these people to do this heinous act. So obviously faith is not a good mechanism for their belief either. And it's the same mechanism used by Christians to back up their beliefs, the same mechanism used by anybody else to back up their beliefs when they don't have evidence. If you ask for someone to demonstrate why something is true, they'll almost always bring up like, well, we saw this report, we have this evidence, I had an observation of this, this, and this. For anything else, unrelated to religion, unrelated to the concept of God, they will just tell you why I read it somewhere, this authority told me. There could be fallacious reasons to believe beyond faith, but at least they're trying to present you with something to back up their belief besides this word, this concept, this ill-defined concept that basically means hoping something is true and believing that your hope is true and having a conviction because of your hope. I really don't understand why theists don't understand the problem with that. And they don't see that faith is unreliable by just looking around at the other religions and the heinous things done in the name of religion based on that same mechanism. They should realize that, look, this is an unreliable thing. I need to have better reasons for my belief. I realized that. That's why I'm no longer a Christian. I got out because I realized that, why am I believing this on faith? If it's real, I should be able to demonstrate it. I should be able to get some sort of evidence that can back it up. I don't want to believe just for the sake of believing. That's fooling myself. And I couldn't find anything. I searched a long time and I couldn't find anything. Anyhow, thanks a lot, YouTube. I will catch you later.